Good afternoon and welcome to the Monday, November 3rd meeting of the Watershed Committee. We have members of the committee here as well as several members of the staff. First order of business, call the meeting to order. Second item is our September 2nd minutes. Anybody have any comments, questions, concerns with those?
I make a motion, we accept them.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Those are accepted. So first item to get into is talking about updates to our stream cleaning from the summer. So I will pass it over to Patrick to give us an update.
Yeah, so this past summer we did a lot of stream ditch cleaning on Marshner and Harris Road, and we just got finished up on Harris Road, along with a bunch of ditch line mowing.
So we're done over there now. So I know we did the north side kind of earlier in the summer, and then we just got the excavator back, and then now completed the south side, and then east down to Harris as far as we can go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then I know we've got a couple others still pending out there. We've got to look at when our permits expire on those, but I know we'll jump into the agenda on a few other items we've got coming up. But yeah, I think that finished up that section, and then I don't know what else we had up in there. You follow up, we had some tree planting or something we had to do.
Yeah, we still have the tree planting there on the north side of Marshner there.
One parcel, you got that covered.
I'm waiting for him to get back with us. I called him to set a time up to go out and meet with him to see where he wanted him.
Okay.
And he had a death in the family, so I was waiting for him. He's going to contact me when he gets everything squared around, and we'll get them taken care of.
Okay. Any questions on stream cleaning?
Just anything you guys have scheduled for the winter? I know sometimes it's better to get in there if the ground's frozen. I don't know if there's anything you guys have scheduled.
We have ponds, a little piece at Willow Pond. You're jumping ahead in the agenda.
Sorry, man. I'm looking for it.
Stealing my thunder.
You haven't been here.
Put the glasses on.
Mark, he's an engineer, he doesn't know.
All right, Mark, I apologize. I rescind my question.
Yeah, we didn't do a lot of streams this year. You know, we've had some other stuff going on, but kind of that was one to finish up. So next item is Willow Pond. So this has been something that's pending, came out of the sulfur smells. So there is a sulfur spring over in that area, kind of east of the pond. I don't know, Mike, if you've got an aerial photo you can pull up, I'll talk about it. So there's a sulfur spring over there. It's been documented since the 1800s, so I don't think we're going to make it go away. But I think with the drainage issues that we've seen over there, I think it's more groundwater is being recharged in and not draining off as it once did. So Mike's kind of highlighting the area. So that's Willow Pond. Penfield's on the north side. That horizontal line is the cross between Penfield and Perrington. So the south side is Putting Green Lane. So the town of Penfield has responsibility for Willow Pond. That's our only dam in town. So we maintain the entire pond, mow it, and then we've got requirements for maintenance of the outfall structure. So we've talked about that before at this committee of downgrading that. Was a Class C high hazard dam. Now it's a Class B medium hazard. So we've got to do an annual inspection of it, look at it, make sure it's functioning, and then as well as, maintain the outfall structures and everything else. So we've got some maintenance that's coming for that. So we met on site today with the DPW crew. One, we've got to do some tree management. So there's some suckers that are kind of growing on that part Mike's highlighting on the west end is really where the dam is, where it's built up. So similar to people have seen with the canals and other stuff recently, you're not supposed to have trees on the dam portion. If the tree falls over, the root wad could damage the embankment. So we've got some brush clearing, mowing to do on that section in there. But we're doing that kind of at the same time as there's a pipe that comes out of Perrington on the southeast side. So Mike's highlighting it comes out of that neighborhood. Was put in I think the 80s, 90s. Comes up, there's a forebay that's up in there, and then it doesn't really flow westwardly anymore. But there is a pipe that's supposed to go into the pond from that piece. So it appears that it's recharging the groundwater and then pushing that water which is bubbling up where Mike's highlighted at the top of the screen. So that's where the sulfur spring is. We walked over there today, you can still smell it. It's starting to smell more now that it's raining again, but you can see the water bubbling up out of the ground, and it's bringing up the sulfur smell with it. So we met out there in April with the DEC, walked it with them, submitted our joint application. They redelineated that as wetland based on the new regulations that started as of January 1, so it was not previously wetland, was deemed wetland now, so we had to go through the joint application permit with the EC and the Army Corps. So Mike's kind of highlighting where that 4-bay area is. So we just met there today. DPW crew is starting to stage over there. So we're doing a joint project with Perrington since it's in their town, but the sulfur's in our side, so they're working with us. They've got access to the high acre landfill, so we're providing the machine, the operators to go in and clean a ditch that goes from that 4-bay into the pond as it was once developed and designed. But ash trees have fallen down, willow trees have grown up in the swale, so it just no longer flows the direction it's supposed to flow. So that'll be a project that's starting mid this week. So we're sending out postcards to all the neighbors surrounding it, letting them know what's going on. Perrington, I would assume would, email, send a postcard to their neighbors as well, letting them know what's going on, but it'll be a small project. Unfortunately, we're not able to kind of drain that whole area since they've deemed it wetland. So naturally, normally we'd like to have gone through and run swales all through it to drain it out, but we've got a limited scope that was permitted by the DEC. So we'll have just a swale going from that pipe that comes in and then running it, and then right where Mike's got the arrow on the screen, there is a crossover pipe that comes into the pond at that lower end. So most of the drainage comes in on the north end. We've got a small stream that feeds in, and we've cleaned that a couple years ago. It feeds into that north corner. But then there is a crossover equalization pipe that comes into the pond and drains that area from Perrington. So if anybody watching and seeing, there will be some tree work over there. There will be some dredging that goes in place to do that. We do have all the permits in place. We'll be accessing from Putting Green Lane, which is that lower left street, so it's coming in out of Perrington. So that's the closest spot. That's where the outfall is for the dam and everything else. So we'll be coming in there and then traversing the property at that lower end up to get access in, and then running a machine in there and cleaning the drainage way in there. So hopefully, by at least eliminating that water, that was less that could hopefully recharge into the ground, and then what's bubbling up in the sulfur area. So whether that solves it 100%.
So you can't fix it 100%.
And then people have asked, can you cap it? It's not like a gas well. It's not. It's just nature bubbling up out of there. Nothing new has been built in the area. So that question came up is, what's new? What new ponds in the area? What's changed the drainage? It's basically just over time, as anything, swales get filled in, trees grow up. It just doesn't drain as well as it once did or what was originally designed to do.
So it's gotten worse, apparently,
This year has gotten, the last 2 years has gotten much worse.
because it's been so dry? Is that the idea?
It's gotten, this summer it went away when it was dry.
Okay.
But we had a very wet spring. If you remember, it rained every day in March, April, May.
Yeah.
The smells really got bad, and people were calling from all over the area and, thought, we got calls to thinking it was a gas leak, sewer leak, so we kind of had to go through and investigate all that first, going, it's not a sewer break, it's not, a gas leak. RG&E was out there to verify all that. And then people thought it was the landfill. Sometimes it can be, depending on the way the winds are blowing. But you can go and see that what area there is a whitish gray look to it. And we're told, this actually came up last fall, people had concerns about that, and I guess it's the bacteria that eats the sulfur. So we had the health department out there, the DEC out there did testing. People were concerned that it was toxic or something else. It's clean, fresh groundwater. The bacteria, is not harmful, so we had the health department do samples, to make sure it was, safe in that area. Unfortunately, it does carry a smell with it. So as you walk into the area, you get closer, you can definitely smell, a sulfur smell, and it gets worse as the rain comes on. So if we,
It must be just confined to that small area, because back in the 70s and 80s, I was involved doing the subdivision for Ryan, and we had no issues when we dug all those basements.
Yeah.
What subdivision is that?
Pardon?
Which homes are that? On the
Pine-
cul-de-sac there?
On the Putting Green Lane side?
Putting Green Lane, that's, can't remember
So-
the name of it.
I think Mark Ford did the
It's
northern
Ryan-
piece.
Ryan did the homes. Some of them are townhouses and some are individual lot owners. But I can't remember not Pine Grove. No, that's
Just
on
was
the other
curious.
side.
It's not, I just was curious more.
Yeah, but there was no issues back when we did, at least I was out there almost every day. I couldn't smell it.
Yeah, so I mean,
Then again, I
it's
wasn't
been
looking for it.
periodic in the
Yeah.
springtime. We've gotten calls in years past, and it comes up, periodically after a heavy rain, must recharge the ground. You get some calls, hey, there's some smell, goes away. But in the past two
Limit the
years,
surface area, the surface water in that area.
if it's just sitting there, it seems like it's recharging, it's just not getting out of there like it was originally designed. It had a distinct flow path, it had a spot to discharge to the pond. Now it just sits in there and percolates into the ground and then bubbles back up. It's a little bit lower elevation as you go north towards the creek. So you can see it bubbling out of the ground and you can smell it as you get closer. So hopefully this alleviates or at least mitigates the problem. I don't think it's been there since the 1800s, so we're not going to make it go away or eliminate it altogether, but hopefully at least if it drains better, it'll mitigate some of the smells.
Get charged like you do at Yellowstone to smell that stuff.
Yeah, people take baths in it, and Sulphur Springs not heated, but
Mark, it looks like the majority of all the improvements are in the town of Barrington, correct?
correct.
And that forebay that was built as part of that subdivision in Barrington?
Yes.
Correct. You know the question I'm going to ask. Because I'm very familiar with Willow Pond.
Yep.
Through all that mess with him, well, it wasn't a mess, but through all the years and years of working with the DEC trying to get things permitted back there.
Yep.
It seems that they have some responsibility here.
And they're doing all the trucking, so we're.
Oh, they are? Okay,
Yep.
great. Okay, that's all. 'Cause
Yep, no, Barrington said we'll do a joint project, so since they have access, and I think I skipped off that in the early part, but I said they've got access to high acres, so they're going to take
Right.
all the soil, they're going to take any of the trees,
Okay, good.
the brush, so we said we'll get an excavator in there. I don't think they have one or not available. We said we provide the manpower to dig it, and we'll load your trucks and you guys haul it all off. So
No, that's
why
fair.
we
I
said-
mean, because there was a point where they didn't want anything to do with anything in that Willow
Yep,
Pond.
and we've had that in other locations, and I know they don't do a lot of stream cleaning, so I don't think that's why they have the machinery we do. We said, hey, we can provide that, you guys truck it all, you guys haul it all out of there, and they said,
Perfect.
yep,
No,
we'll do.
it's a
So,
fair trade.
Yep, so hopefully that, will have some impact, or hopefully have some benefit, but we've gotten a lot of calls, I know DPW gets a lot of calls about it, so hopefully that'll help, again, alleviate some of the smells or concerns that those neighbors have been having. So that's a starting this week project. Mike's jumping over to Pennicott Pond. We've talked about this one before. So this is a neighborhood pond, I believe put in the subdivision was in the mid-'70s, late '70s, '80s. So the pond was put in. It's a backyard pond. It was up against a wetland. So it is a town-dedicated property next to a wetland area. So as part of the stormwater regulations, we're required to maintain all ponds that are ours, get it inspected every 3 years, same as the private part. So we went in and started doing maintenance on the pond. DEC came out and said, hey, you can't do that, you don't have a permit. And we said, it's our pond, it's man-made infrastructure, we're clearing the trees, same as we did on the other ones, and we're going to get in and clean it out. And they said, no, you got to go through permit process for that. So 3 years later, as quickly as we could, worked with them to, again, file a joint application, get the necessary permits. So we got a permit for cleaning the pond. We had to get a permit, because it's all Phragmites in there, to go in and spray and treat the Phragmites. So that was done this fall. And then once we're treating the Phragmites, it's kind of gotten silted in over time, go out and dredge the pond out. So now that the Phragmites are dead, and you can see the actual paths that they used, updated aerial photographs from just earlier this month.
Wow.
They went in and actually created pathways through there to spray the Phragmites to kill off the invasive species. Now we'll go through, dredge the pond out, recreate the forebay that was there once upon a time, and recreate the outfall pipe with that. So that one we're partnering with the school district. So this one is all of our project, but the school district is allowing us to access through their property. So their properties, Bay Trail Schools in the front, come through their property and then haul the material out and dispose of that. So that's kind of a piggyback project of doing the Willow Pond piece, renting some equipment for that, and then jumping over to this project right after that. So this is be the winter project that you talked about. It'd be good if it's frozen to get in there and get into a pond and dredge it out, in that winter time.
Didn't we walk that pond a few years ago?
Yeah.
We did. It was
Yeah.
one of our
June walks.
We kind of looked in there, and, there's some big trees right at the inlet end that are kind of blocking the flow in. There was a lot of trees growing around the outlet end. That's what originally we had started on, going, it's being blocked by, trees coming into the pond and going out of the pond. So, the crews were working on cleaning that up, and then one of the neighbors was upset that we were starting too early in the morning. We were running a chipper at 8 a.m., so they called the DEC, and the DEC came out and said, well, you really need a permit for this, and said, we're doing maintenance on a pond that's the town's, and we're following normal protocols, we're not doing anything different. At that time, we weren't dredging, we were just clearing the suckers off the side, making sure it was functional, and, cleaning the outfall structure. And unfortunately, they said, well, since it's adjacent to a wetland, we deem it as a wetland now as well. So 3 years later, we now have a permit for it. So.
Mark,
We
with this,
started-
the Phragmites, they're pretty tough to stop, so I assume they're just going to come back?
Yeah, they're supposed to, in the fall, and that's the ATIP group we work with, they say that it sucks up the
The seeds?
the spray in the fall. to
Yeah,
help
as
chip off
it's
the-
dying, you're supposed to spray it in the fall so that it starts sucking in the
pesticide or whatever.
pesticide, yeah, and it takes it into the root system.
So it should kill off all the existing Phragmites?
Technically, yes.
Yeah.
The
Theoretically.
existing stuff will kill off. It's
Right.
not going to do too much for
Yeah,
anything.
the tubers and stuff underground, it's a pretty,
No, it's
Well, no,
tough.
that's why it's invasive, it's a tough
Yeah, but it'll
thing
be
to-
back. It just, as long as the pond is dug down, you guys
So
are going
let's
to dredge it. It's not-
dredge it to get back to at least the capacity in the pond, and.
Yeah, then it's not going to happen there again.
you know,
You'd have to have
for a
a certain
long time.
depth, though, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be fairly shallow.
So this will be a winter project for us to get into. Any other questions about Pennicott?
The reason we're doing this is complaints, or were there flooding issues? Was there?
We were doing our triannual, so every 3 year, although DPW does it every year, we're required every 3 years walking it, it's just showing that it's becoming overgrown.
It was, well overgrown.
Starting to create, issues with, capacity. It had silted in so much that, wasn't losing some of its functionality. So before we had an issue, thankfully, there's a nice berm between them and the residents.
Yeah.
So we hadn't had any flooding issues, but just trying to be, preemptive. We do maintenance on all of them. Get out there, and usually it's some tree trimming, there's some, maintenance at the inlet and outlet. This one, obviously, for many years, just, being forgotten next to the wetland. I think it just got overgrown and, needed a higher level of, maintenance to it.
Okay. The DEC sure doesn't make doing maintenance.
And
Easy, I guess, is the right word.
they do not. And then you've got two divisions within DEC, so you got the MS4 division saying, thou shalt clean your ponds and maintain them. We said, okay, we will, and then you got the other half of DEC saying,
Wait, you're going to need a permit.
slow down, and what do you need to do, and you need a permit for that, and so
And we have to justify the permit for it. You can't just say it needs to be cleaned. It's like it's been,
we have to show a reason why, same with our streams and everything else. You can't just say, well, we're going to do it, and it needs to be done. We have to show why. We had to, send them what was the original design of the pond, how did we lose capacity, had to shoot some elevations to show that the capacity was lost in the pond, so.
I mean, the town of Penfield has always been very, very proactive with the ponds and with its ditches and everything else. I mean, more so than probably any town in Monroe County.
And that's some of the pushback we get from DEC is, why is drainage so bad in Penfield?
It's not bad.
Why do you guys need all these permits? Again, to your point, we're trying to be proactive rather than just let it
It's not bad 'cause you
completely
keep
go,
at it.
and we try to keep up with it. And
It's not bad, it's just, we're trying to stay.
yeah, but
Yeah.
the DEC looks at it as, why is Penfield, have so many drainage problems? Why do you guys ask for permits and nobody else does?
Because nobody does anything.
Because nobody does it. I mean, we have a drainage fund, we have a watershed committee, we've got, support from, political support, so, we're trying to
Maybe
say
we
leverage that as long as we can and make sure.
Maybe we should go on the roads to other towns and show them how it's done.
I can tell you one thing, Ed, when you do that, when you do have a problem, it becomes a big problem.
Yeah.
You know, we're here, you
Yeah.
know, we're ahead of the problem.
ahead of it,
But
yeah.
if you just let it go and let it go,
Well,
because
that's
I've
why
been part of that.
That's why I'm surprised the DC took 3 years to get that.
Well, I mean, you look at
And
that
it's
3 years.
going to
how
add
much
more
worse is
problems
it?
to
How
it.
much worse, right?
Yeah, and we've talked about that. We've got an APWA roundtable group. We talk about, how does Penfield do some of this? We have a drainage fund. Everybody pays into it. So we look at, yes, this may not be by your house, but we're maintaining this pond. But last week, we, created the clean the stream over by you. We maintained something downstream. So, we try to spread it around by, maintaining all the stormwater infrastructure. That's a benefit to all the residents that, we
Drainage doesn't follow lines.
No,
No, it's just it goes,
and we're
right?
done, once the storm comes, it's too late to maintain the infrastructure, and then you're flooding. So, our drainage calls have gone down considerably, and then, in the last 10, 15 years, when we've been on and maintaining and, flushing out pipes, and, we flush our storm sewers, we clean our ponds, drainage complaints have gone down considerably, because of that, proactive nature. So that leads right into the next item. So 2026 pond treatments. Mike, you want to talk about what we're doing with ATIP?
So this is my yearly question to the board, that do we want to keep treating our ponds that we've been treating? Currently, we're treating Glenbrook Pond. That's for the lily pads and sometimes algae, depending on how bad the lily pad growth is. Harvest Walk, which is again lily pad and possibly algae.
Vegetative growth.
Yeah, and then we also treat the Silverwoods Pond now, which was lily pad, and then Tollwood Ponds, which is, I'm not
It's
sure.
across from the community center.
Yeah, which is across from the community center, which is not really lily pad, but I think we had some algae,
There's
and then we have
cattails and-
cattails and stuff in there.
Yeah, we did muck for that, too.
Yeah, and we do throw the muckaway pucks in. We started that again this year, so, but, in order to do some of these pond cleanings, we have to submit DEC permits. And so ideally, if the board wants to pass on to the town board that, we look to continue with this process, then usually in January, we start the DEC process so that when we get the permit by, May, June, ATIP, our consultant, can start treating these ponds at a better timely fashion than if we wait until next year to, ask the, this group, then we're kind of behind the 8 ball on treating the ponds, and it ends up being, more towards the late summer, early fall, so.
But by using ATIP, doesn't that save our costs down the road as far as having to do a dredge and stuff?
Yep, so that's
So it's
part of it is.
cost preventative.
Yeah, so what we're treating is excessive vegetative growth.
Yeah.
Right.
So we don't do aesthetics. So people say the pond looks green and whatever, we don't do aesthetics. You can't do anything with blue-green algae. We're merely handling the overgrowth of the lily pads or other, duckweed or other stuff that gets in that plugs up the outfall structure. So it gets back to, once that plugs up, then other stuff backs up and it starts, silting in. So, we try to be proactive. Again, with treating, you can see the ponds on either end are green and have algae in it. That's nothing that, we're not treating for the
But we've all seen. that it's working.
aesthetics of it, but
working. It's doing what it's supposed to be
keeps
doing.
the stuff down, and, so we do minimal treatments. Again, we've got to get permits for that. We've got to, follow process procedure. ATIP is a certified, company that does it, so we think it's working. I think we come back annually and check with the committee to make sure, you guys are still supportive, and then, pass it on to the town board.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah,
No, I think
yeah.
it's a good idea to do it. I do.
Okay. And then we're getting back into the muck pucks. So we did those. So those are, say biodegradable, but
Yeah,
basically
it's enzyme,
they're bacteria and enzymes you throw into the pond that helps to keep the muck down. Because the last pond we dredged was Glenbrook Pond, and that took our entire drainage budget for a year, and
Yeah.
I still don't know if it accomplished exactly what we thought. So now we're going to try to have more of a, programmatic approach to using the muck pucks out there and hopefully eat up some of the organics in it and, again, extend that life and, be proactive.
What is our ATIP fee for everything? I mean, what are we looking at? Do you know?
I believe it's like around, I want to say 25,000.
That's what I.
But it treats the 4 ponds that we're treating, and they usually have, they guaranteed our price, a price for the last 3 years. So I believe this year we're still set with a contract, but the following year we'll have to re-up or, look for somebody else to provide this treatment if we wish to keep, pursuing this.
Yep.
So.
Well, I mean,
And that includes their time they do all the applications, they do all
Right.
the permitting,
All that.
they do all that as
But
well as the treating and.
And what's it cost to dredge a pond?
Wow,
Well, the
this
overall
was
scheme of things, it's a
300,000.
good
Yeah,
number.
it was over 300,000 to dredge
That's a few
Glenbrook last
years of
time.
taking treatments,
Yeah.
so it doesn't make sense not to do it.
I wasn't sure. That's the number I kind of remembered. I just didn't know if it had grown through like a 6-digit number.
No, they've
And that would've
actually,
been-
They've stayed pretty
ATIP
consistent.
is pretty consistent with their prices,
So, and your contract runs through next year?
Yeah.
And then you have to rebid it, and they'll probably get, I don't know anybody else that does this, so they'll
There,
probably.
there really is, I mean,
No,
I've
there's a
bidded it
couple.
out twice now, and the same 2 bidders bid on it, so.
No, I'm good with it. I just was curious, because like I said, if it ended up growing, and it's
Right.
taking up all of our budget, or it's
Yeah.
affecting what else we can and can't.
Now this
But
has been
doesn't seem that
consistent, so.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on pond treatments? So jumping down, just some quick updates on the MS4 permit. So we had to submit our certification from our attorney that our 3 stormwater laws meet the state standard. So that was due on Friday, and we got it in on Friday. So we have our letter, we submitted it, DEC acknowledged it, so we're legit now. Years ago, the county had certified one of the laws, and all the communities, I'm sure Brighton just said,
We're good.
we adopted the same thing that everybody else did in the county. They came in and said, well, that was the county certification, not Town of Penfield certification, and the county only certified one of the 3 laws. You need to have the 2 others certified. That basically says it meets the intent or the overall, state standard that's out there. So we had to have the town attorney go through that and look at our law, compare it to the state statute, and then write a letter saying we meet the state requirements. So,
It's a funny ask by those guys, because town attorneys don't know anything about it.
yeah, and that's why it's been
They have no idea,
it's been a long process to
Yeah.
explain stormwater to the attorney, to have him compare
He
it
learned a little something.
back and forth. He learned it was long and boring, was what he. I said he could take it on the road and go to other communities. He goes, no, thanks, once is good enough. He didn't find it a lucrative business and didn't want to do it again, so. So that's in. We're kind of in between. I think we've got another January 1 update as we get into, if you want to provide any updates on what's coming.
Sure, yeah. So it's basically when the new permit came out in 2024, they set goals every year. So we're coming up on our 2nd year set of goals, so that's involving just basically putting in writing any of our illicit discharge processes, so that if we all retired on the same day and a whole new crew came in, they'd be able to just look at our manual and kind of jump in and keep going. So that's a lot of the updates that are required by the end of this year. Additionally, I think we have to create an inventory of all of the town-owned facilities, and eventually we'll have to prioritize those in terms of stormwater discharges. I don't think that's due this year, though. And then, yes, all of that we have to put that in a annual report to the DEC, but that's not due until April, so got some time on that one.
And then the overall long range, we do have retained an engineering firm that is doing a survey of all of our storm and sanitary. So DEC is requiring storm. So we've got it on the map and we know the general locations of it. Now it has to be survey grade. So that'll benefit us in the long run. So we've added that to our budget So it has to be done by the end of year 5. So right now, they're out surveying,
What year are we in?
we're in year 2.
Okay.
So we've got a little bit of time for that, but they're out doing all the survey of all the infrastructure. Mike's pulling up on the map showing what we have. Those are pretty close, either through, some are as-built, so good. Some are handheld GPS unit, you're within 3 to 5 feet. Others are old as-built on a rubber sheet, and, we added them in, so it gives us a good sense of what's out there. But by no means is that, survey grade accurate what we use today. So this requirement from the DEC is, pushing us forward. The town board has supported it. So at the end of this, we'll actually have rim and invert pipe size. So while they're out there, collecting condition of the manhole barrels, condition of the pipes, what everything looks like. So that'll, one, give a work order, to the DPW to look back and go, hey, these are all the ones you can sort by all the manholes that are in bad condition. Catch basins are in bad condition. It gives you a work order for that. But we can also do analysis for if we're adding more homes, can the sewer handle it? We can do some hydraulic calcs, now that we know the size of the pipe, the hydraulic grade line of it, same with the storm sewer, we can, do some more analysis of it. But then also if it gets buried in a snowdrift, we can go out there with a GPS unit and go, it's right here, and, find it at all sorts of times. So that's kind of running over the next 5 years. Every year, look to allocate money in our drainage fund to go, forth and get that all mapped.
It's a good idea to have. It's just a lot of effort.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot.
It is, yep, it's a lot. And
I'm
there's
not sure it's going to be that beneficial.
communities that they're supposed to be all GIS, but some of the smaller towns, they're still on paper maps. So they don't have GIS or the infrastructure or the staffing to run it and maintain it. So I don't know how,
Is there a
Those
penalty
communities.
if you don't do it?
supposedly.
You don't know what it is.
I'm not going to try to find out. There was a penalty to not get our letter in by Friday, and thankfully we got it in on Friday. So Ken didn't want to find out, so we're trying to be, again, proactive to get our mapping done ahead of time. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of communities that aren't
Oh, I'm sure.
shown on that time frame or haven't even started on it. And I mean, right now, I believe we think there's
How many structures do you have
over 4,000 catch basins alone.
alone?
And then that's part of the permit as well. By year 5, we need to have inspected all 4,000 catch basins.
Does this count as inspection? The
That's
survey?
part of what we're going to say, is this is our inspection of it. Now we know if it has a sump in it, what's the condition, but they're saying within that
You
time
just give
period.
the surveyor a checklist of what to look for?
Yep. So we give them
A
a
checklist,
sheet
and they
saying,
just-
get the sump,
so
get the invert, get the pipe, get
So they're
the
consistent.
material.
So everything's consistent?
Yep, so we have that little data dictionary they go through and just check off every time.
Helping figuring problems out.
When you have problems, I think it can, honestly, that kind of data as an engineer is awesome, right? Because now you can run hydraulic analysis, you can see the thing.
Yep, go,
But-
why are we surcharging in this? And you see what's tied into it, and maybe you can see that you could divert something or.
The hard part is when you find it, what do you do about
Yeah.
it? A lot of times you're going to say, well, particularly with the, the increased storm intensities and things like that, now you're just going to say, our storm sewers are undersized. You're not going to go through all town and resize all the storm sewers. There's just not enough money in the budget to do that.
Yeah, you just look at, is there strategic places? Could you put a pond, or is there some other
Find
mitigation
something.
you can do to,
Yeah,
mitigate some of that?
yeah.
Pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, thankfully the town board's,
Well, like Florida, my place, they offered $75,000 for anybody who want to raise their house.
Yeah,
They pay
that's their new rule down
$75,000
there, right? Yeah.
well,
Because they're not going to do anything about the storm surge.
yeah, they can't. Yeah. Okay. I don't think we have any old business. Anybody have any new business to discuss? No? Okay. Given that, our next meeting is February 3rd, so we're off for the holidays. Be back in the spring. Like I said, it's still winter in February. Winter. Winter. So with that, we'll adjourn the meeting at 4:34 PM. Thanks, everybody, for coming.